A common mistake men make is believing that women want constant attention, that they need endless reassurance, nonstop texting, and frequent reminders of affection to stay interested. The truth is that behavior doesn't create attraction, it actually weakens it. What women truly crave isn't over the top attention, but emotional security. Emotional security means she knows you are steady, reliable, and confident enough to not be shaken by little things. It's about her feeling safe in your energy, knowing you're not easily rattled, and that your emotions aren't dependent on her every move. When a man bombards a woman with messages, calls, or constant check-ins, it may feel like he's showing love, but to her it feels like pressure. It communicates insecurity, as if he doesn't trust the connection to stand on its own. That's why women often pull back when men overdo it. They don't want to be smothered. They want to feel free within the relationship, and paradoxically, that freedom creates a stronger bond because it's rooted in trust, not desperation. Emotional security comes from your ability to be calm and grounded. It's about her knowing that if she takes a little space, you won't panic. If she doesn't reply instantly, you don't spiral into doubt. It's the energy of a man who trusts himself and trusts the process. That steadiness gives her comfort because it signals strength. Women naturally gravitate toward men who radiate stability, not volatility. Think about it. A woman doesn't replay every word you say because she needs validation. She's paying attention to how you make her feel. If your presence calms her, if your silence doesn't trigger chaos, but instead reassures her of your confidence, then she feels secure. That's what creates long-term attraction. Women don't remember the 10th good morning text you send in a row, but they will remember the man whose presence makes them feel at ease, even in silence. Another important truth is that women admire men who have their own lives. If your entire world revolves around her, she'll quickly lose interest because it communicates neediness. But if you can balance affection with purpose, attention with independence, she'll respect you more. That respect builds the emotional security she's looking for. She doesn't want to feel like your only source of happiness. She wants to feel like she's joining a man who already has direction and strength in his life. So instead of focusing on how much attention you can give, shift your mindset toward how much security you can embody. The goal isn't to overwhelm her with affection, but to ground her with presence. That's the difference between a man she enjoys for a moment and a man she never forgets. And that's why women don't want constant attention. They want the kind of emotional security that only a confident man can give. One of the biggest misconceptions men carry is the belief that women are searching for perfection. They think they need the perfect looks, the perfect car, the perfect job, or the perfect lines to impress her. And so many men get stuck in the trap of overcompensating, always trying to fix every flaw, always trying to polish themselves to a point that feels impossible. But the truth is, women aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to confidence. A man who owns who he is, flaws and all, is far more attractive than the one constantly trying to hide behind a mask. Confidence isn't about having everything together. It's about how you carry yourself in the moments when you don't. A man who can laugh at his mistakes, who doesn't collapse under pressure, who can walk into a room without trying to prove himself, that's the kind of energy that captures attention. Women sense authenticity, and they're naturally drawn to it. Perfection feels fake, it feels staged, but confidence feels real. It communicates, I am enough exactly as I am, and that's a powerful message. When you try too hard to be perfect, you actually communicate insecurity. It shows that your words, she won't accept the real you, so you're putting up a performance instead. That's why so many men get rejected despite giving everything they think women want. It's not genuine. Women see through the act, and they don't feel safe trusting it. But when you stand tall in your truth, when you say what you mean and mean what you say, you create trust. Confidence is what earns respect, not the illusion of flawlessness. Think about the men women talk about with admiration. They're rarely perfect, but they're always sure of themselves. The man who has a scar but jokes about it. The man who stumbles but keeps going without embarrassment. The man who knows his value even without wealth or status. These are the men who leave lasting impressions. Why? Because confidence creates emotional security. and women want to feel that. It's also important to understand that confidence is contagious. When a man is confident, he makes the woman he's with feel more comfortable, more relaxed, and more feminine. His grounded presence allows her to let her guard down. But if he's constantly doubting himself, she feels that insecurity, and it creates tension instead of attraction. That's why women say things like, I just felt safe with him, or he had this energy that made me feel at ease. They weren't describing a perfect man, they were describing a confident one. So stop obsessing over trying to be flawless. Focus on building the kind of inner certainty that doesn't shake when life throws challenges your way. Women don't want a man who pretends to have no flaws. They want a man who embraces them, grows from them, and stands tall anyway. That's confidence, and that's what truly attracts them. And that's why confidence always wins over perfection. A lot of men get this completely wrong. They hear that women want a strong man, and they interpret strength as control. They start dictating what she can do, where she can go, who she can see. That's not strength. That's insecurity wearing a mask. What women actually crave is leadership, not control. Leadership is about direction, confidence, and the ability to guide with purpose, while control is about fear, restriction, and domination. And there's a huge difference. When a man leads, he inspires trust. He doesn't need to demand respect because his actions earn it. He shows initiative, he makes plans, he takes responsibility, and he moves forward in life with clarity. Women love this energy because it allows them to relax into their femininity. They don't have to carry the weight of always steering the ship because they feel safe with a man who knows where he's going. Leadership creates security. It's not about telling her what to do. It's about showing her by example what direction you're heading and inviting her to join you. Control, on the other hand, suffocates attraction. When a man tries to dictate her every move, it communicates fear. Fear that he isn't enough, fear that she might leave, fear that she might find better. And nothing kills attraction faster than fear disguised as dominance. Women don't want to feel caged, they want to feel free. But they also want to feel like the man they're with has a vision bigger than just existing day by day. That's where leadership comes in. Think about how natural it is. When you're on a date, she feels more drawn to the man who confidently says, I've got a great place for us to eat tonight, you'll love it, rather than the man who nervously asks her to make every decision. She doesn't want to be controlled, but she doesn't want to feel like she's leading the entire interaction either. Leadership takes the pressure off her, and that feels good. It allows her to relax, to enjoy, to lean into the flow of the connection. Real leadership also shows up in the way a man handles challenges. When life throws problems, does he fall apart or does he step up? Women pay attention to how you respond under pressure because it reveals whether they can trust you in the long run. A leader stays calm, thinks clearly, and moves forward with strength. That doesn't mean he has all the answers, but it means he's not afraid to take responsibility and act with confidence. So understand this, women don't want to be controlled, but they deeply crave a man who knows how to lead. They want someone with vision, direction, and strength. Someone they can trust to guide, not someone trying to cage them out of fear. That difference is everything. And that's why true leadership creates attraction while control destroys it. One of the biggest traps men fall into is believing they have to perform to win a woman's heart. They think the way to attract her is to put on a show, to act cooler than they are, to exaggerate their successes, to hide their flaws, to try too hard to impress her. But what most men don't realize is that this performance almost always backfires. Women may smile politely or go along with it at first, but deep down they can sense when something, isn't real. What they actually crave is authenticity. They want to know the real you, not a polished version designed to win approval. Pretending to impress might work in the very beginning, but it's not sustainable. Eventually, the truth always surfaces, and when it does, the attraction disappears because trust is broken. Women aren't looking for a flawless man. They're looking for a genuine one. A man who owns who he is, who doesn't feel the need to hide behind a mask, who is comfortable showing his strengths as well as his weaknesses. That's the kind of presence that makes her feel safe because she knows she's not dealing with an act, she's dealing with someone real. Authenticity creates connection. Think about the moments when you've been completely yourself, without trying too hard, without overthinking. Those are often the times when people feel most drawn to you because your energy is honest. Women feel this even more deeply because they're incredibly intuitive. They can pick up on your vibe, your body language, your tone of voice, and they know if something doesn't match. When your words say one thing but your energy says another, they sense the disconnect instantly. But when your words, actions, and energy align, that authenticity shines through and it's magnetic. Another reason authenticity matters is because it communicates self-respect. When you try to be someone you're not, you're basically saying who I really am isn't good enough. That insecurity pushes women away. But when you show up exactly as you are and carry yourself with confidence, you're saying, I know I'm valuable just the way I am. That attitude doesn't repel women, it draws them in. And here's the truth. Women don't fall for the guy who tries to impress them with flashy gestures or exaggerated stories. They fall for the man who makes them feel something real, the man who can laugh at himself, who can admit he doesn't have all the answers, who can share his passion without trying to prove anything. That's the man who wins her respect and her heart. So stop pretending, stop performing, stop worrying about being perfect. The most attractive thing you can be is yourself. Your real, unfiltered, unapologetic self. Because at the end of the day, women don't want the act, they want the man behind it. And that's why authenticity always outshines the performance. One of the most overlooked truths about attraction is that women are not drawn to men who stand still. They may tolerate it for a while, but deep down they crave a man who is always moving forward, always evolving, always chasing growth and adventure. It's not about being reckless or living an extreme lifestyle. It's about having passion, curiosity, and direction. Because when a man grows, he inspires, and when he inspires, he creates a spark that keeps attraction alive. Stagnation is one of the biggest killers of relationships. If a man becomes too predictable, too safe, too locked into routine, he slowly loses that edge that made him exciting in the first place. A woman doesn't want a man who feels stuck in life, who has no vision or hunger. She wants someone who challenges her, someone who pushes her to think bigger, someone who keeps life interesting. Growth doesn't just benefit you, it benefits her too because it creates a sense of forward momentum in the relationship. Adventure doesn't have to mean traveling the world or climbing mountains. Sometimes adventure is simply the willingness to step outside your comfort zone, to try new things, to embrace life with energy. Women feel this energy. They feel the difference between a man who is alive with purpose and one who is just existing day by day. A man on a mission radiates attraction because he's not looking for her to complete him. He's inviting her to join him on the exciting path he's already walking. Growth also shows her that you're never settling. A man who works on himself, who sets goals, who's always learning and improving, communicates strength and resilience. Women respect that because it shows discipline and ambition. It says, I'm not stuck, I'm becoming more every day. That's magnetic, and it keeps her curious because she knows you'll never stop surprising her with new layers of who you are. On the other hand, when a man stops growing, he becomes predictable. Predictability may feel safe for a short time, but it kills attraction in the long run. She doesn't want to feel like she's with someone who's given up on life. She wants to feel like she's part of a story that's unfolding, a story full of new experiences, challenges, and victories. Adventure and growth give her something to look forward to, something bigger than just routine. So don't confuse comfort with fulfillment. Comfort might make life easy, but growth makes life exciting. A woman doesn't secretly dream of a man who plays it safe forever. She dreams of a man who inspires her to rise higher, to dream bigger, and to embrace the unknown. And when she feels that energy in you, her attraction deepens in ways that attention or gifts could never create. And that's why women desire growth and adventure, not stagnation. One of the most powerful yet misunderstood aspects of attraction is boundaries. Many men believe that to win a woman over, they have to be endlessly available, constantly saying yes and putting her needs above their own at every moment. But in reality, this approach often has the opposite effect. Women are not attracted to men who lose themselves in the process of trying to please them. They don't want a man who abandons his independence or sacrifices his self-respect for attention. What they respect and what truly deepens attraction is a man who values himself enough to have strong boundaries and maintain his independence. Boundaries show that you know your worth. When you can say no when something doesn't align with your values or goals, you send a clear message. Your time, energy, and focus are valuable. Women notice this immediately. It doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strong. A man without boundaries becomes needy, and neediness is one of the fastest ways to kill attraction. Women don't want to feel like they are the center of your world. They want to feel like they get to share your world, a world that is already full and meaningful with or without them. Independence plays a crucial role here as well. A man with independence doesn't rely on her validation to feel good about himself. He has his own life, his own mission, his own passions, and she becomes a part of that rather than the sole focus. This balance creates respect because she knows he isn't desperate for her approval. Instead, he's inviting her into a life that already has direction. That sense of self-sufficiency is magnetic because it signals emotional strength and confidence. Neediness, on the other hand, suffocates relationships. It looks like constant texting, seeking reassurance, or bending over backward just to avoid conflict. At first, it might seem like affection, but over time, it drains the spark because it removes all mystery and tension. A woman doesn't want a man who clings to her. She wants a man who stands tall on his own, who can walk beside her as an equal, not as someone leaning on her for constant emotional survival. Ironically, when you stop chasing validation and start embracing independence, women feel more secure and more attracted. They see you as someone who cannot be easily swayed, someone who is grounded, someone who is in control of his emotions. Boundaries and independence create a kind of quiet power, a power that doesn't need to boast or beg. And it is exactly that power that keeps women intrigued and inspired. So remember, attraction isn't about overgiving, overtexting, or proving your love through neediness. It's about standing firm in who you are, setting clear boundaries, and showing that you value yourself enough not to compromise your independence. That's when she begins to respect you deeply, and that's when attraction naturally grows stronger. That's why women respect boundaries and independence, not neediness.